Now, do you know what an acronym is? This is a word that's kind of new to me. It's like an acronym, only the first letter of the words in the acronym spell a word that is relative to what you're talking about. I hope that makes sense. But I have these 5 traits, and I arrange them in such a way that they spell a word. The first letter of each one spells a word. So let's go through these 5. This will take just a minute, but as I go through these, see if you can figure out what word these spell. What is that show on TV? Was it Vanna White that flips over the letters? And so it's kind of like that. All right, number 1 is self-absorbed. So the first letter in the acronym is S. Do you happen to know what the word absorb means? A-B-S-O-R-B. The word absorb means to soak up. Now, when we're talking about narcissists, and our topic here is when narcissists lose control of you or anybody for that matter, we came up, first of all, with the definition or an explanation of what a narcissist actually is. So address the question, when narcissists lose control, we need to know what we're talking about. What is a narcissist? The DSM-5 gives us 9 traits. I identify 5 that I have personally experienced on a very close level in my life. So we're going to talk about these 5 traits at the very onset so we get a little bit of direction where we're going with this. And again, the topic is, what do they do when they lose control? Narcissists. That's why I ask you, what does absorbed mean? It means to soak up. So if a person is self-absorbed, he's kind of soaking up himself or herself. In other words, it is all about him. That is, or her. That is one of the first traits that I noticed when I came to understand that this really good friend of mine, or this person that I associate with, or this person at work, or maybe a family member, maybe extended family member, maybe an in-law, whatever it is, this person seems to have the traits of a narcissist. If the person is self-absorbed, they may be very good at masking that self-absorption. So they may try to pretend or mask that they are really kind of selfish, and sometimes these people actually do things for other people. But it has a selfish motive. You may not figure that out at the very onset. You may just say, oh, man, what a nice guy. He's helping me out, or she's helping me out. In reality, what they're doing is they are manipulating you, trying to get your loyalty. So, it's all about them for self-advancement. So they're self-absorbed. Even being nice to people has a selfish objective, a selfish motive. So the first letter in the acronym is self-absorbed, is an S. The second one is L, lack empathy. I like to say limited empathy because I've noticed that even narcissists tend to have tremendous empathy for their immediate family, their children. Nobody compares. They have the best kids in the world. They are the most talented, the most gifted. Well, if you do that, who is not a narcissist? I think my kids are great. I thought my kids were the greatest on earth until I had grandkids, and then they kind of took their place as the greatest. And now I'm patiently sitting around waiting for great grandkids. When is this going to happen? But a narcissist, the letter L, they lack empathy. The exception is usually with their immediate family or anything that they own. For example, their pets. Is that real empathy, or is it just another fake, selfish, masking empathy? The answer is, I don't know, but I think it possibly could be they really care about their kids. That just seems to be human nature. The third letter is I. So far we have S-L-I. Have you figured the word out yet? This is interpersonally exploitive behavior. And it's really kind of simple to understand. That might be a term that's not familiar to you. You know what exploitive is, but what is interpersonally exploitive? Well, that means they take advantage of others to achieve his or her ends. It's just that simple. Now, how is that different from exploitive? I really can't tell a difference. Maybe you can. If you can inform me in the comment section. I don't know everything about everything, and sometimes I need some help. All right. The fourth of the 5 letters is the letter M, and that represents the word manipulative. One thing that every narcissist does that I have ever encountered, been affiliated with, or associated with, loves to manipulate other people to his or her advantage. They like to manipulate people just to manipulate people. And the fifth letter, the final letter, if you haven't figured it out already, and I think you probably did, is E for entitled. They are entitled to everything. I mean, if they don't have it, they're entitled to it. They may not have worked for it, but they're entitled to it. They may not own it, but if you have it, they're entitled to it. That's their mindset. Now, that represents, the word, by the way, is slime, if you haven't figured that out. And I think you did. But what? They're entitled. And everyone I have known who is obvious to me, at least in my assessment, is a full-blown narcissist, feels entitled. They feel entitled to hurt other people, not just to possess things. They feel entitled to manipulate other people. They feel entitled to control other people all the time, every time. I've never seen a full-blown narcissist be in a circumstance where he didn't or she didn't think of himself or herself in control. Now, I've noticed that while they're engaged in this entitled form of control, as I said earlier, sometimes they will play the act of a person who is humble. They're doing that so they can control people. They want people to think they're something they're not, so they can control those people. So just like somebody is presenting as humble and caring and concerned, doesn't mean that they are. They could be masked. You got to be careful, and you got to be careful not only that the person may be a narcissist, but you can't just assume everyone is a narcissist. The way that I like to do it when I approach people in general is I like to assume two things. I like to assume, number one, that they're narcissist, and number two, that they're not narcissist. They will tell me in time, but in the meantime, I'm going to be careful. Okay, so the first thing we have is this acronym. So now we have a foundation. We know what we're talking about. And we're going to get down to the very last point in a moment, but we need to understand that the last point is probably the one point that everyone encounters. And you may not have even known you were the victim, so you want to pay close attention. So number two is they often don't know that they are actually driving other people away by their narcissistic behavior. And as I'm talking here, I'm making some notes because I think of things while I'm talking and I don't want to leave them out, so I write while I'm talking. But they need admiration. They need validation from you, from everybody. They want everyone to tell them how great they are. I mentioned this in another video, but I saw a guy on TED Talks, and he was doing a presentation where he was explaining narcissism. And it was probably one of the best, but simplest and shortest explanations I've ever encountered. He walked out on a stage, and the audience, full of people, and he just asked them to applaud, and so they applauded. And then he motioned with his hands, a little bit louder, a little bit stronger. And so more applause. And then he raised his hands again, and the next thing you know, he was getting a standing ovation. Then he walked off the stage. That's narcissism. That is to say, they need admiration, they need validation, and they go to weird, bizarre extremes to get it. As we said earlier, sometimes they pretend that they are humble, so people will admire them. It's not about being humble or being empathetic. It's about being validated and admired. So when you withdraw from these people, a narcissist, to them, it is an affront because, they need their ego boosted. That's their thing. And when you withdraw from them, you are withdrawing the very thing that they need the most. It's like you're taking their food away from them. It's like you're taking money away from them. It's like you're stealing from them. You are no longer being fooled by them. They're fronted. They are frustrated by this. They are now going to be a little bit revengeful. Okay, so what are they going to do? Well, number three is, this is where the smear campaign ramps up. Now notice I didn't say this is where the smear campaign begins, because every narcissist that I've encountered is engaged in a continuous series of smear campaigns against multiple people. They're always talking about somebody behind their back, putting somebody down to elevate themselves. So when I say ramps up, I'm saying it's not that they're just starting a smear campaign against you. It's already been there, but now it's going to go full drive. They're going to let you have it. They're going to let you know that they are still in control because they can no longer control you by manipulating you psychologically. So they're going to control you by proxy, by other people. They want to isolate you from your friends. Now, I had a good friend, put that in quotes, good friend, who I thought was one of the best friends a guy could have in the world. I was so grateful for this guy. Now, he was a narcissist. He was manipulating me all the time. It didn't occur to me, even though he borrowed money, wouldn't pay it back, scammed me out of money, wouldn't pay it back, cheated me out of money, wouldn't pay it back. Just to show you how gullible I was, and I guess I still am, I went along with it until it finally occurred to me, hey, this guy has stolen tens of thousands of dollars from me, not just in money, but in things. So the smear campaign, he ramps that up. And you still have friends, so what he's going to do is he wants to isolate those friends from you and compartmentalize you so that you don't have access to them, and he's showing you. You're not going to walk away from me. I am going to be in control of you no matter what you do. All right, now you're going to have some friends or some people in your life, like a spouse or a sibling, or maybe a good friend that just sees through the nonsense. I've had people in my life, they weren't even friends, but still they saw through the nonsense. If you've seen the movie, the play Gaslight, you remember there was one guy who saw through the mode and method of the bad guy. So there was this good guy who didn't even know the victim. He was just observing casually. And he was the hero. So yeah, those people exist. All right, now what is the narcissist going to do with these guys who cannot or will not fall victim to the smear campaign? Well, what they do, this is number 4, is they will triangulate. That is, they will befriend those they cannot alienate. Now, they're trying to befriend everybody, but they will, in particular, try to befriend those that they cannot alienate, and they have the same objective. They want to portray themselves as the good guy and you as the bad guy. And they do that by forming a friendship with people, knowing that they didn't pay attention to their smear campaign, or they're not good candidates for it. But they're going to follow through with that nonetheless. All right. So let's take a look at this. We got 3 more to go. Number 1 was we got the acronym down. So we know what a narcissist is. Number 2, they don't know why they're driving other people away, or they don't know that they are driving other people away, which is counterproductive. Number 3, there's that smear campaign. They ramp that one up. Number 4, when the smear campaign doesn't work because people are close to you, they will triangulate. Number 5 is this. Sometimes, now I've really not experienced this, but sometimes there can be a fake apology. So what about others when we're talking about the apology? Oh, what about other people that the narcissist has offended? What about other people that he or she has in the past, or almost certainly is in the present, smearing? They have a campaign, they have multiple smear campaigns going at once. Now, if this person's apology to you is genuine, then you would expect this person to apologize to all the people that he has wounded, all the people he has scammed, or she has scammed, all of them, not just you. So if a narcissist would single you out to apologize to you and you alone, and not to everyone else they've hurt, you have to ask why. Why are they singling you out? You have to consider that this can't really be a genuine apology. You got to be careful before you forgive people who don't accept your forgiveness. If they don't change, then forgiveness can't happen. You can offer forgiveness, but it's still not forgiveness if it's not accepted. So you got to ask yourself the question. Okay, so this person came and apologized to me. Oh, it was so heartfelt. I'm not sure, but I think I may have seen a tear in their eye. So why are they not apologizing to others? Why just me? Good question. I think it's because they want to, what's the term, hoover, pull you back into their control. That would be my best guess. And who knows? Maybe the apology is genuine. A chance, I've never seen it. But it could be. So give them a benefit of the doubt, but expect them to apologize to everybody. All the people they have communicated with about you during their smear campaign. Did they go back to all of those people and apologize to them for smearing you? If they didn't, then I don't think that's a genuine apology. I think it's just a form of manipulation. Number 6 is they will try to form a trauma bond. That's a term that gets circulated a lot, floats around, and we really need to know. This is one of those terms you just got to stop and define it. And here's what a trauma bond is. It's when a person forms a deep emotional attachment with someone that causes them harm. It often develops from a repeated cycle of abuse and positive reinforcement. So the person will try to, the narcissist may try to vacuum you back in, hoover you back in, suck you back in, and if they're successful, they will create possibly a trauma bond in which they form that emotional attachment, that they express love and admiration for you. It's fake, but they express it, knowing that you're gullible enough to believe it. But then they will abuse you. They'll cause you harm. Then they see you starting to pull away, and so they go back and reinforce that emotional attachment. And then they abuse you, and the cycle continues over and over and over again. Number 7, this is the one we said was most important, or I think it is, and that is they will gaslight you. You probably knew this one was coming, right? Well, what is gaslighting? Simple terms, by definition, is make the victim feel like the bad guy. Make the victim feel like there is something wrong with him or her. That is the essence of gaslighting. Make you feel guilty. Make you feel like you were the one who did something wrong. If it weren't for you, everything would be fine. But I decided I would go to Psychology Today and see what one of their authors had to say. Here is what I read. Victims of gaslighting are deliberately and systematically fed false information that leads them to question what they know to be true, often about themselves. How do you protect yourself from gaslighting? Here's what I've learned. Have a strong sense of identity. Know who you are. Reinforce your sense of identity, your sense of self. How do you do that? Well, you begin with your name. You know what your name is? Reinforce it. My name is, and say your name. My name is Ken. All right. Got that down. How hard is that? Very simple. Where do I live? Okay, I can tell myself my address. That's kind of simple. But what I'm doing is I'm forming a pattern in my mind by doing these very simple things. Now, here's where it starts getting tough. What do I believe? What would it take to change my mind about what I believe? What are my attitudes? Where am I emotionally and mentally? Because that's the sore spot. That's where the narcissist who is gaslighting you will try to attack you, thinking you're a little bit off, thinking maybe you're wrong, maybe you got a mental problem. That's the whole idea of the gaslight. The bad guy in the movie and the play Gaslight, he was turning down the gaslights. This is back at a time when they didn't have electricity, apparently. And when his wife would notice, he'd deny it. Say, no, gaslights aren't dimming. You must be crazy. And what he was doing was trying to set her up to be sent to, what were they, back then they called them insane asylums, trying to have her committed so he'd get her money and get all her possessions. That's gaslighting. When someone tries to convince you that there's something wrong with you so they can take advantage of you. And again, there was this passive guy who was casually observing and knew what was going on, and he stepped in and put a stop to it. If you haven't seen the movie Gaslight, it's on YouTube. I think it's free. So, take an hour or two of your time and educate yourself, because that will help you understand it. If you haven't watched it already, many of you I think already have, but will help you understand when people use the term gaslight, this is what they're really talking about. So what is a narcissist going to do when he or she loses control of you? They're going to try to use different avenues of reining you in under their control, because, as we said earlier, they need that admiration, they need that validation, they can't stand losing. And in their mind, they are losing because they're not in control. Most of us don't care. A narcissist, it's everything to them. They've got to be in control. But they're not in control. Don't let them take control. It's called gray rocking, or going gray rock. That's kind of a pop psychology term. But the thing to do is ignore them. Easy for me to do with a narcissist once they're outed as a narcissist. It's hard to get my friends and family to recognize. They'll say something like, well, they didn't hurt me. Well, actually, they are hurting you. You just haven't found out yet. And I know that because I've done the same thing. I've had people who are obvious narcissists to other people, and, well, it didn't hurt me, so, what's the problem? Well, the problem is, it's coming. And I found out the hard way, because, yeah, it did come. If you got something out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment in the comment section if you want to start a conversation, have something to add, join the conversation. And if you share this on social media, that helps us a lot. That's your way of saying thanks for the video. So thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you all next time.